until we get to the end, or they can be emailed to us
I'll
in the
second
meantime. We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So moved. Okay. I have one other item under other business. I know you guys love it when I've got all these items here, but this involves our next scheduled meeting, which is November 30th. We had, next week we will not be meeting, as we will be busy cooking Thanksgiving meals, preparing them, or at least some of us will be. The November 30th date, Joanna cannot make that meeting to take notes. I asked her to contact Joyce Fuller and to see if she would be available, and Joyce said that she was going to contact Pat, and I didn't know if she had had the opportunity to do so. Would it be all right for Joyce to be here to take minutes? If not, we have other options. We can either reschedule, or we can just go with camera and tape. We have YAP coming in that night, and the Belknap County.
I would like to suggest that she get paid for doing that.
No, we don't pay people. Of course.
Well, I know Joyce. She would not expect to be paid.
She should get paid the same rate that Joanne's
She should be
getting.
paid the same rate. That's why I'm saying it, because she herself would just do it because it's necessary. But I think in these times, everybody can use a little extra, and since it's typically paid.
Do we need to put that into a motion? To pay?
I'll make a motion that we allow Joyce to do it at the same rate of pay that Joanna gets paid.
I second it.
Is there any other discussion in regards with that? Is there anything that we should be aware of as to before we approve that motion?
No, that's basically her own time.
Okay. I'll call the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So moved. Joanna, can you inform Joyce?
Absolutely.
Thank you. And tell her I said thank you very much for being willing to be here. If something comes up and she cannot make it for some reason herself, can you just let us know, and we'll either reschedule or do what we did, during the summertime, and just make sure the camera's rolling and the tape is playing. Or try to remember that the tape is playing this time.
May I ask a question while we're here?
Yep.
What is Belknap County Restorative Justice?
Scott, you want to answer that?
That's an organization that we pay for within our county taxes, and I asked him to come down to explain what services they provide. They're not looking
Great.
for any money,
I see that, yeah.
but it's just more of an informative thing. Brian Loans runs that, and I asked him if he'd come down and...
Brian Loans?
Brian Loans, yeah. It's through our county taxes, Bob, and I just want him to explain to the committee what they offer for services.
Right. There might be, we want to make sure that whether there is or is not any overlap with what YAP is presenting to us as to what the Youth Assistance Program has had and has offered us.
Restorative justice often refers kids to our program.
Alrighty. It's not quite 7:45 yet. That's when we have the Rec Council coming in. No? Are you here with the... You're not here from... Both of you. Yes.
Tilton concerts, Tilton Island concerts.
Oh.
Told to be here in time. 7:15.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wish I had known that. We had discussed it. We had gotten an email from Alex, and she had said that gave us that it was still going to be the same. It was still going to be $2,000. That it was still going to be the 8 concerts planned for the year. Hopefully. Yeah. I'm sorry. Can I have your name?
Chris Langhold.
Chris Meinhold. Is there anything that you know of that is different
No.
in regards to that?
Other than As far as concerts are concerned.
Yeah.
A lot of changes and so forth, so
Right, this is your an anniversary year for you.
this will be the 20th year.
That's a big one. That's a big one. You've provided, the concert series have been well-attended year after year after year by, not just the Tilton community, but Northfield, Franklin, Sandmerton. I know that there are people from all over that come
All
and,
over the area, all over Lakeview.
yeah, they come and they fight for a parking space, and they lug their chairs, and they go and sit out there and do the concerts, watch the concerts, listen to them. And so,
From your side.
we are all set. We have already, the Budget Committee had already voted on and approved the funding from
We
here.
know you
So
were
I-
coming, Chris, so we did it beforehand.
So I do apologize for having you sit there, but
I wondered what he was doing here, but I thought, well, I better not. Yeah, I'll pay, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, make sure the tape is running when that happens.
it's running now. It's running now.
That was good.
Yeah.
Well, very good.
All right, well, thank you for coming, and I do
Thank you,
apologize
Chris. Have a
if
good
I...
night.
It was a pleasure.
Sorry to make you sit through all of
You
this,
too,
but...
Chris, take care.
Thank you. Bye.
There are 3 people downstairs just lurking, waiting to come up, and I invited them to come up. I assume it's the right council.
Yeah, I'm sure.
They often just stay there until their time.
They must be talking.
Can I bring up something just for a quick second?
We're still under
Tony,
other business.
I watched the Selectmen's meeting from last Tuesday, and I guess I wanted to clarify a few things. It was stated on there that the last time any salary people in town was given an increase was in '09. And I went and pulled the town reports out. And the town administrator in 2008 was paid $64,980. In 2009, it was increased 3% to $66,930. In 2010, it was at $69,272, and in 2011, it's at $70,272. That's an increase of 7.9%, and there's an increase every year. The PD chief was at $74,290 in '08. $75,029 in 2009, which is 1% increase. 2010, he was paid $77,626, which is a 3.5% increase, and we level funded him last year at $77,626. The highway director in 2008 was $70,245. In 2009, it was increased 2.9% to $72,306. In 2010, it was increased 3.5% to $74,837, and that's what we level funded them this last year. The welfare director, $31,800 in 2008. It was raised 5.4% to $33,520 in 2009, raised another percent in 2010 to $33,838, and we level funded that in $33,838. The finance director, which started that position in '09, $50,865. It was raised 11.8% to $56,870 in 2010, and it was raised 8.8% to $61,870 in 2011, a gain of 20.6%. So the statement that none of these salary employees have received a raise since 2009 is not correct. I mean, they were,
Your figures
I get the figures all from the town report.
from what was approved at town meeting?
What was paid out in the years, the actuals in the years, and then the last one was the town report, which we level.
Those that are paid out, I believe, will also reflect insurance buyout. They will reflect paid time off buyout. So they're just their salary. If you're looking at the actual...
This is just on the salary lines, Catherine.
Right, and I believe what is actually paid out to them in those buyouts is in their salary line. So if you're looking at the actuals, that's not just their salary. It also includes those other buyouts. You have to look at what is approved at town meeting. You know, what did we approve the salary for the administrator? And that's what she was paid as a salary. Whatever else she had.
That's what I'm taking it from, the budget, from the budget, what was budgeted every year.
About the approved budget in March, not the
That's what I'm talking
actual
about.
Not the figures that, the financial report figures that we get?
No, I'm not going by that, Catherine.
When you said
No,
actual.
town reports.
I thought you meant actual monies
No.
paid out.
Town reports, so what was put in front of the people. What was put in front of the people.
Those figures come from what was approved at town meeting.
Yes.
Well, interesting that town meeting would approve 7% increase.
Well, we did big increases. Right.
For the finance officer, we combined his job, and we did that for the administrative assistant.
Right.
I didn't mention the administrative assistant, because I just did department heads that we had here,
Yeah.
because that's what was mentioned. But there
The
has, I mean...
finance department, that was something that was,
But what I'm saying is the only year that the budget, that the department heads in town and the workers was level funded as far as in their salaries was last year, the current year we're in 2011. And it was stated that they hadn't received raises since 2009.
Further along in that very same meeting, it went on to say that they received increases in 2010.
Well, even after that, Joe, though, Sandy made the statement, the last time the salaried people saw an increase was in '09, after
That was
that.
the original statement, certainly, but further along in that meeting, it did come up that they had received raises in 2010.
But what I'm saying is Sandy made this statement after Joyce made the statement that you're making.
Well, 2010 was the numbers that I heard. In the final analysis, it was 2010.
if they've been paid within the budget that we've set, then it's up to the
But I think
Select board
the fact I'm trying to say is that the only year that there has not been a raise for the salary employees was last year, which is the current year that we're in for 2011. That's the only year that they've been really flat line, or level funded, however you want to word it.
We'll remember that when we're looking at the budget.
Okay.
Okay. Rec Council, step right up. I got chairs. Well, I want you up here. Yeah, I want people that have intricate knowledge, and not just I don't need everybody answering questions, just those that are the finance people, and that's going to be able to answer questions in regards.
Do our best.
All right.
There you go.
What did I do with my glasses? Before we get started, I'm going to, this booklet that I have here in front of me, this is the Basic Law of Budgeting, the 2011 edition. And on page 13, subtitle F, it says Public Purposes Only. Receipt of public money entails an obligation to benefit the public. Under the New Hampshire Constitution, public money can be appropriated only for valid public purposes, but not to create a purely private benefit. This issue can be confusing at times because even something that may have a public benefit does not always constitute a public purpose, as required by the New Hampshire Constitution. While the public might benefit from the use of municipal appropriations to a private entity, such as a private ambulance service, the public purpose requirement means that municipalities have to go one step further and secure the ability to enforce or obtain that benefit for the public. What is the Rec Council's public purpose for the town of Tilton? What do you provide the citizens of this town?
Tilton Northfield Recreation Council, in a nutshell, provides recreation and activities for the town of Tilton, in a nutshell.
at a cost, though. People are still paying a cost, and every program you have costs money to people. So explain to me how our public dollars are helping to save our people money, helping to support our cause.
The fees that are charged at a nominal amount. In other words, our fees are low. What helps us are the towns of Northfield and Tilton to keep those fees reasonable. So I'm hoping that is what you're looking for when you're asking that question. The monies that we receive from both towns help to offset, obviously, our expenses, mostly on the operating side. So therefore, without the support of the two towns, the fee structure would be substantially different, and the ability to run a lot of the programs that we run, what we currently charge, would cease to happen. Having said that, not all of our programs do we charge fees for. So there are a number of programs that are run. There are a number of different activities that go on over at the Pines Community Center every day where there are no registration or activity.
What are those programs that don't charge fees?
You can go if you want to, or I can.
You want to start off?
I'll just pick a couple of them. One of the things that's going on right now that we've heard from you all before is what are we doing with our middle school age kids? And they're overusing our facility every day after school, and they're not charged to use the facility. That's just one example.
What's available to them over there?
We have, most of the whole entire facility is available to them.
But I mean, what type of activities can they engage in?
They participate in, I mean, they're able to, they have access to our equipment, so they are able to, I mean, for example, we have groups that play floor hockey. They obviously use the basketball court. They are able to play other games within the building. Like I said, they have access to the equipment, so what equipment we do have, they use to do different things. And then, like I said, outside, they're utilizing the basketball court.
Does anyone monitor them while they're there?
Here and there, yeah, when they're inside the building, for the most part, yes, they are monitored. When they're outside, I mean, we keep an eye, but, I mean, obviously we have other obligations, but we keep as close of an eye as possible, but we have a
You don't have an organized activities for them. They pretty much organize it themselves, utilizing your facility and equipment?
Oh, yeah, I mean, we provide them with the things that they need to play the thing, to do the type of activities that they'd like to do, essentially, yes.
So it's not structured?
No.
I have the November activity schedule. Could you just run through here and tell me which of these there's no charge for? Programs.
Many of the meetings that you'd see
But those are meeting, that's a meeting
with the
room.
with the groups that are utilizing the building, obviously. I'm sorry, just give me a second to... We don't charge for, I mean, just like I said, I'm just looking through everything here. The community skating, we don't charge for, and that's offered to all age groups. We don't charge for our chest night. Blood pressure clinic is free, senior lunch is...
That's something, those,
Did you say skating?
Yeah.
Where do you skate then?
Oh, the skating's over at the Tilton School. It's a program that, though, that we combine with Samberton and offer for the... That wouldn't be a bad idea if they no, the Tilton School allows us use of their rink, so we offer community skating nights. And there is one in November, there's one in December, and then we start them up basically full-time on Sundays. Excuse me, in January. Let's see, what else did I say about?
Doesn't school charge for any of that, or they just?
They allow us to use it, us,
They've always allowed the parents to use
as,
certain blocks of time if they could use them.
Sunday night.
generally Sunday evenings is when the community skate nights are.
We'll have skating anytime.
Let's not go there right now, Kathy. Let's wait on that.
Promoting it, promoting it.
Yeah.
A lot of these are meetings that are listed on here, I mean, and then the others are practices, which, yes, are programs that we do charge for.
So
However,
what programs? Read me the programs.
the community skating at Tilton School, there's no charge. Obviously, there's a blood pressure clinic. I'm just going based, like I said, based on what's on here. The blood pressure clinic is no charge.
Blood pressure clinic, from
It's
what
put-
I read on there.
It's put
you just-
on by the VNA, but we,
But they just take their blood pressure.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you
I
do
mean,
at
you're- I
the
mean, but-
drugstores or the supermarkets.
certainly, I'm just
Okay.
going
I'm
based
just
off what's on the
curious.
sheet. There, like I said, a lot of these are groups that meet at the Pines at no charge, and then there's, I mean, a lot, yeah, and these are practices, so, which are programs that we charge for.
Are you reimbursed by any of the outside agencies like the karate? Do they pay you for the space and the...
Yeah, we have an agreement, an instructor agreement that any outside instructors fill out when they offer a class at the community center.
Do they pay per student or do they pay a flat fee?
The percentage.
And where does that reflect it in your budget, your income?
It comes in the program line.
Well, that's considered one of your programs, an outside agency that comes in and, I assume
That's
that
where the
Zumba
funds-
is also one of those programs.
That's where the funds are deposited,
All right.
in that line.
Are there a lot? Karate's there, the archery. Are there other programs that are put on by outside agencies?
Strong women, Zumba, line dance, strength training. I mean, based on this sheet, I mean, we've had other classes in the
Yeah.
past, so I mean, but,
Well, I just pulled that, just your November schedule.
yeah, no.
I just wanted to get an idea.
Yep. No, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, there are an abundance of different instructors that come in, or groups that come in to offer classes, so.
And they pay you a percentage of,
Yeah.
if 10 students take it at $5 each, is $50, and you get 10% of whatever it happens to be. It's not, you don't charge them for the space as such, it's a percentage.
What are the rates for the camping in the summer?
The summer camp,
Yeah.
this summer, it was $50 per week. With the exception of the we were running for 9 weeks. Weeks 1 through 8 were $50 per week, and that includes the camp hours, which are 8:30 to 3:30. And then the 9th week, we took a field trip, so that it was 55.
Are there scholarships available for that?
Yes.
How many of those were available last summer?
We have a new program that was started this past year by the council, and it's what's called our Youth Assistance Fund. And what we ended up doing was we put about $9,000 worth of grant money into that. And anybody that needs assistance to register for any program would come and see me, and we would sit down and talk about what type of assistance they required. And through those, I believe there were 3 or 4 grants that went into that fund. We helped every individual, both this summer and this fall, after the program was set up, with 100% of their registration fees.
How many were there? I see you have $2,000 that you got for the youth program scholarships. How many received that? And I don't want to find the total number that received it first. How many total people received the scholarships?
So far, I think the numbers are around 30 or 32.
That was last summer.
That was between the summer and
Okay.
basketball.
30 or
which is-
32. How many of those were Tilton residents?
I couldn't tell you, I don't have that number.
We need to know that number, because that's one of the things that we're asking. You know, how does this benefit Tilton?
If you get this money
I-
and you're not using any of it,
I can give you the percentage, I can't give you the exact number.
I'd like the number for both Northfield and for Tilton as well, and then the outside. Now, you have a program for teens and I believe youth that's an adventure, it's called an adventure program?
Trip and adventure camp, yes.
Yeah. It's $180, I believe. I think one's 170 and one's 180.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, how many participants do you get in those programs?
It varies by week.
How many weeks does it run?
4 weeks.
4 weeks?
Yeah, but there's 2 trip, 2 adventure. And I want to say 6 to 8 per session, although I believe in one of the sessions we did not run but then we ran the last 3 of the 4 weeks, but I'm just trying to remember, but I would say 6 to 8.
Now, are there scholarships available for those adventure camps?
This year, I'm not sure.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right, they went through the same process, I'm sorry.
Because I think we'd like to know also how many people of the participants were from Tilton, how many from Northfield for that adventure camps as well. Now, you have 14 part-time people?
That's correct.
Are they paid hourly or are they salaried?
They're hourly.
How much do they make an hour?
Ranges anywhere from $7 and I believe 40 cents, hang on, I've got it.
$7.40?
$7.25 to $8.40 an hour.
Okay, and you have 2 full-time, are they both salaried?
Yes, they are.
And what are their salaries? I'm asking that because if you look at your budget, 56.3% of the money, the expenses in your budget are salaries. 56.3% of your $277,000 is in salary. And yet you only have 2 full-time. And if you're paying between $7.25 and $8.40 an hour, that's an awful lot of hours to rack up that kind of money.
Okay.
Seems to me.
Okay, but, all right, well, let me go through the structure.
Okay.
And then it'll make a little bit more sense.
All right.
There are 2 full-time, okay? You're looking at one that's at $30,285. The other is at $40,560. We have 2 part-time employees that we consider part-time and not seasonal, like a summer staff person. You're looking at $20,475 for the first and $13,000 for the second. From that point on, now you're going into a whole bunch of different classifications, and this is what we call either our summer staff, or I guess that's probably the best way to describe it, but this is part-time, and the hours don't come anywhere near our normal part-time hours, which are 35 and below. And that's where you're looking at your 14 people that range between $7.25 and $8.40 an hour.
You have after-school counselors, too?
Yes, we do.
What do they do?
We have both before and after-school counselors.
But what do they count? I know you have the ABC program.
Right.
Those 2 programs. Is that what these counselors do?
During the school year, yes.
So they're not really
They-
counselors,
They do that, yeah, that's true. And they also do things like our vacation camps during the school year, those types of programs.
Pat has a question?
While we were on salaries, I was just wondering, a quick question, in the 2012 proposed budget, are there increases for any of these full or part-time employees?
Yeah, $8,600.
All right, there's a couple of things that I've got to clarify first, so you see where we're going with this. The 2011 budget and where it's going to come in is going to be different. So you're looking at an $8,000 increase, but the actual numbers that are going to come in on 12/31 for salaries, due to a couple of things, is going to be around $151,000. Plus, I can't tell you exactly, but that's going to be fairly close. So you're looking at about a $4,500 increase. Now, if you want me to break it down, I can break it down, who's getting what, but it's a very complicated system because it's based on merit, length of service, and what the particular position is.
So there are some getting increases, is my question.
There are some getting increases, there are some that aren't getting increases. And give you a perfect example, I am not getting an increase in 2012. My increase is going to the two other people that are at the higher salary range. The overall increase, if you want a percentage-wise, for every staff person, right now stands at about 2.9.
How much do you charge for daycare?
Daycare?
Do you do daycare there? Didn't you at one point? You did the Head Start program,
Yeah.
and that's not there any
We
longer.
house Head Start, and I don't have any figures for them. We weren't,
No, you were just the location.
they were a renter, and I don't know anything about their program financially wise. I can't answer anything.
Is that the reflection in your rental, going down from 17.5 down to 5,000?
Exactly.
Is that why the income's coming down 12.5, 12,500? And why is the merchandise sales, why is that reduced?
Because what we've found in the last two and a half years or so, and I've only been here for a year and a half of it, but the trend in our merchandise sales, which is, just so you know what it is, it's our participants have set up funds where they can buy things. We have a snack shack and whatever else. Those numbers are going down, I would assume, and I don't want to speak for people why they're not buying as much of what we're selling, but they're not. So that's why you're seeing that number go down consistently. I don't have an explanation for it. I really don't, other than it could be the economy. I don't know what it is. It could also be something that we've done for a summer program may have an effect on that, where we had breakfast and lunch served to everybody that was in our summer camp, free of charge. I'm sure that probably had an effect also, but that far outweighed the small amount of money that we make from our merchandise sales to do that to the summer camp. The numbers reflected it, certainly on the income side of the equation.
Jim, 65% of Tilton residents, according to the census, are over the age of 65. What services do you offer for people at that age range, seniors? I know you have the Thursday lunch. What other services do you offer for the seniors?
I mean, we have a number of classes that are offered, but, I mean, seeing that,
What are those
seniors.
classes?
The Strong Women class, for example, that's 2 days a week. They utilize the line dance class, the Zumba, the strength training. We did have a Zumba Gold class running at one point.
But Zoom is an outside
It's
business coming in and offering the class in times,
But
right?
yes, it is. But there was a class in particular, Zumba Gold, which is specifically for seniors to participate in. A lot of the classes that we do have outside instructors coming in, the seniors do participate in those classes that we do offer. We have trips. We had a trip to the flower show. We had a trip we have trips set up to the casinos.
Do you get money for that, or does that money, or do you just serve as the liaison with the bus company? Or the casino or whatever?
I'm trying to think of what their charge, because their charges have changed. I'm not
I want to know
exactly
because I
sure.
want to go on one, so.
But I believe if anything, we take, I think minimally from what the bus charge, basically from what they charge.
So
We,
you really don't make any money on that?
not a great deal,
Okay.
no. No. Yeah.
Jim, can I ask you a question? We had the welfare officer set in front of us a few months back, and it was brought to our attention that she had tried to, she had a few individuals that needed help with the scholarship for your summer program. School was getting out, and she had contacted over there. The first thing that bothered me in her response is that she never got a response back. She never got a call back. The second thing she stated is that she never did get a scholarship for any one of these kids. She had to go to outside agencies to get the scholarships. And I guess I had concerns with both of those issues, as far as not being able to get scholarships when she's out there trying to find for people that need the assistance. And I know Heather very well, and she works very hard for the people that she serves and for the town of Tilton. So I guess I'd like you to respond to both of those. If you were aware that she, number one, that she had asked for scholarships, and number two, why was she not, I mean, what was the reason that she was not given scholarships, I guess?
First of all, you've asked me something that I'm not even sure how to respond to, because I honestly cannot tell you why either a call was not made, because I don't have the specifics on this in front of me. Anybody that called me personally, I don't know who she spoke to.
I don't know who she spoke to either. I can't say
Okay,
who she
so
spoke to, but I know
that's
she
why I'm
called
watching
down there.
very carefully what I'm saying. I do not know who she talked to. If she spoke to me, or if she left a message for me, and I did get that message, I guarantee she would have got a phone call back. And she would have been explained how the program is run and how I could help her. And I would have done everything I could do to help with anybody that needed assistance in any program. That I can guarantee you. I do not know the specific, like I said, I don't know who she might have talked to. And that's why it's hard for me to answer that question. But I can tell you the way that it is set up, and the employees that work there know the way it's set up. And I don't know.
I mean, my thought was in the future that maybe the welfare director should have access to, I don't know, a certain allotment of scholarships for the people that she serves, because, you know, she comes across every year, it seems, when school's getting ready to get out, that there's a crisis with certain individuals that have no place for their children to go when the school's getting out. And I guess, you know, we try to work with her as far as trying to help those people, and if she knew that she had a certain amount of scholarships available to her there at the Pines, as opposed to having to go to some other outside agency to get that, I think it would just make it that much easier on her.
She and I need to talk.
Yeah, would you make a
obviously.
contact? I think you should make contact with her.
And I'll take it from there.
Okay.
Do you have a business card you can use for her?
Yes, I do.
Jim, you said last year, I think, that you were going to go out and work very hard to get grants, and I see that you've done that, and I think, you know, we're asking a lot of questions and putting you on the spot, but you did a very good job in terms of going out and doing what you said and to get $30,000 worth of grants. But have you ever thought of approaching the United Way for funding? To become a part of the United Way? Lakes Region United Way?
It has been discussed at different levels at the council.
Why have you not pursued that?
There's a couple of things that I think the council needs to do ahead of time before we can go that route, because there are requirements and audits and all sorts of things that come along with that. Okay, so that's something that is another work in progress, but no, we have not jumped into that arena yet.
But you
And
do
we
see
haven't
that as an avenue that you...
Oh, it's a definite avenue, but until we do what we need to do as a council so we can pursue that avenue, we're not there yet, but we certainly didn't shut that door. And we've had a couple of meetings, council meetings that I can recollect, that we had a guest at one, from Northfield come and talk about that subject, and I'm sure that it'll come up again.
You don't charge a membership fee, and for instance, boys club, girls clubs do charge a membership. Is there a reason that you don't?
In terms of, I'm not quite sure.
Of people who
what-
come
where
and
you're
use the facilities at the Pines.
We don't have an official fee structure like that for somebody that walks through the door.
Have you thought of that?
There are very few community groups that actually come into that facility where we don't get something for that. Okay, if somebody wants to rent the facility, we have a rental type agreement. We have a building use agreement. We have a lot of people donate a lot of money that are organizations that come in that use maybe a meeting room. And as a way to thank us, even though they're a nonprofit or another member of the community, to thank us for using the room, we'll see. It depends on the group, but we may see a check for $150 out of the blue saying thank you.
And how's that
So
reflected in your-
most everything that goes on over there, there's a, there's a lot of give and take there, but we don't charge a membership fee. No.
I have to say that for a number of years, we have, as Jane said, we've been asking you to go out and get more funding, more funding, more funding. This is the first year that we see any, whether there was funding in the past or not. This is the first year we've seen that you have done something like that. But, the reason that we have asked you to do that year after year was so that your reliance upon the town for funding would diminish. And I, for one, was very, very disappointed that your request was increased this year. And I don't see that we'll meet an upgraded request at all. If you're not funded in full by the towns, what will you have to do to continue operations?
If we stay with the same expense side of the equation, and you take away money or funds from the town, then obviously we will have to get our income from other sources. In other words, it's either going to be more fundraisers, more donations, or more grants. And if you look at the line that we have in the income for our projected amount of money, and you're just looking at the operating budget now, you're looking at the council going out and raising $32,000 as a goal for our part of that equation. The other thing that you're not looking at in front of you is the building fund. So
We have that.
I don't know if it wasn't part of the actual, other than you get to see the totals for the previous 3 years. We went out and raised almost $20,000 this year on that side. So I think $40,000 was a pretty ambitious year for my first year.
But I would have liked to have seen that, reduce what you're requesting instead of increasing what you're requesting from the town.
Here comes your issue there. And as we work on the income side of the equation, some things have happened over at the Pines that obviously have affected that. And two of them have been mentioned already, your rental and your merchandise sales. Now you're talking a significant drop in income there. And then the building itself, where we used to get help from the communities to do a number of things, and I'll give you some examples like plowing in the driveway and some other things that we never had to budget for before. We now have to budget for, so our expense side has gone up, where we didn't have those expenses before. The other thing that was unanticipated, and this was something that cost the council a lot of money this past year, was the amount of break-ins that occurred at the Pines. And the amount of money that costs certainly makes things difficult because they're unanticipated, they're not on normal expenses. So yes, it would have been real nice to be able to say we raised enough money so that we don't have to ask for it. But we're a year away from that, from my estimation, and this is coming from me. This is not coming from the council. This is just coming from the executive director, that we are about a year away from having the income that we need to offset the expenses that I know are going to happen, especially the building expenses, which seem to be pretty steep. We're about a year away, and that's why you see the increase as you see it.
Jim, you said that you raised $20,000 for the building fund this year?
$19,700 and some odd dollars, yes.
Is that the Pines Community Center roof from 3M and the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation building program? Is that where that $20,000 is?
That $20,000 came from, well, you're partially correct. The 3M grant was $15,000.
Yeah, for the roof.
The rest of it was our annual golf tournament, and then our Raise the Roof campaign.
Okay.
So our golf tournament took in a little over $3,000.
Actually, more than $20,000, because we've got $15,000 for the roof here for 3M.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a capacity building program of $4,000. So what's your total for your
The
building?
capacity building program that you're looking at for $4,000,
Yeah.
that is going in the operating budget. That is not going in the building fund.
Oh, it is going into the operation?
That's correct. So that you can take that 4 out. So we're still at 19.7 as of today.
I can only speak for myself, but my concern is that as long as we continue to fund you, and you continue to ask an increase each year, I don't see any motivation for you to go elsewhere to get any funding. That's a real concern of mine.
Well, I think we found last year what motivates the executive director. And I think the executive director has answered the call in a year's period of time with the response of approximately $40,000. Without that $40,000, as far as I can see, and this is kind of a harsh statement, without the $40,000, I don't think we would have made it this year. Okay, so motivation, I think we're more than motivated, and I think when you take a look at what the income is going to be for 2012, we're going to have to be super motivated, because we have to make up a tremendous amount of difference from where 2011 is going to end up.
What type of repairs do you have to do on the building next year, 2012?
Well, I think there are a couple critical things, and I hope everybody's had a chance to see the new roof and trim, because that was quite a project, and I mean, that was critical, and I'm really glad that, you know, that's finally done. That took a long while to get there, but that's done. There's a lot of cosmetic things, but there was damage done over the years to the interior of the building from the amount of water that actually entered that building. So we need to do a lot of work on the interior of the building.
Structural or cosmetic?
It's mostly cosmetic. We haven't found any major structural problems with that building. We have a fire suppression system and some other things that, you know, there are some parts that need to be replaced, and, you know, the building is what it is. It needs some attention. And a building that size, with the systems that are in it, when it needs attention, it's not a, you know, I'm not seeing bills for $75. It's a whole lot more than that. So, I mean, we've got a ways to go there, but one of the good things about it is not only do we have a plan of what we want to do, where we want to start, where we want to finish, but we also have the plan of what grants we're going to go after in order to accomplish that next year. And one of the neat things about the grants, and that I've seen this year is the excitement to have us reapply. And I can see being able to raise a substantial amount of money that way for building needs. When I'm writing grants, there's a lot of money out there for building and special projects, okay? I didn't have trouble there. There's a lot of money out there for youth assistance and youth programs. We didn't have any problems there. The tough part is your operational. They're very hard to find, and they're very hard to get when you start asking for operational type funding from grants. Okay, so the council and myself, we need to do some work to go for those, and those run along the same lines as your United Way type thing. Totally different set of ground rules, totally different set of things that the council needs to do to go after those, and that's going to be a concentration in 2012. So we'll get the interior of that building. I would assume, knowing what the figures are to do the interior of the building, I would assume we'll be able to raise that money in 1 year, if I can repeat what I did in 2011. And I shouldn't say I had a lot of help from the council.
Jim, in 2009, you had fundraising programs here, what you provide to us, at $11,930.90. And then you had a fundraising expense on the expense side of $3,072, which leads you a net of $89.30. And then in 2010, you had a fundraising for programs of $62.03, but you had an expense of $39.75.63, which left you about $2,200. And I don't see, is there no fundraising expense here anymore? Because I don't see it in 2011, I don't see it in the budget in 2012.
Yes, there is. And there's a line that we have in our overall budget. It gets folded into this, and the line itself is a fundraising expense line. So we have a merchandise sales expense line, and then we also do the same thing with the fundraising.
It had merchandise expense line on this too, but I was looking at the fundraiser, because you had fundraisers with the grants and donations.
Right.
But down here, I didn't see anything that said that there was a fundraising expense, as there had been in the past, presented to us.
Where it gets, let me tell you where it gets folded into, just so you, it didn't disappear. And
Okay.
I can give you the
That's what I was
exact dollar.
asking.
I can give you the dollar amount right now, if you want the dollar amount for 2011.
I would like it, if I could.
Okay, for 2011, the fundraising expense line right now is at $782.
Okay.
The merchandise sales expense you have, so if
Yep,
you add
that's
those
there.
two up,
Yep.
that's where that is.
Okay.
It actually, rather than to give you all the amount of lines I have to deal with, and that's just part of them,
Okay.
it goes on and on. There's subcategories to all of these. I just made it a little bit simpler, but it's actually in your program expenses.
All I asked for, Jim, is because I'm trying to compare the past years to what you have here.
That's where we are right now.
Okay.
One thing I'd like to point out is we have a lot of other organizations that are people who provide services to the town of Tilton. We have the CAP program, it was $23,000 in 2011, and in 2012 they're asking the same amount, $23,000. We have Lakes Region Planning, it's $8,700, they're asking $3,200 this year. Island Concert Series, $2,000 last year, $2,000 this year. Old Home Day, $25 last year, $25 this year. Park Cemetery, exact same. The library went up by $1,000. Library provides lots of free services, lots of them. In fact, I think they taught some classes at the Pines at their expense. Child and Family Services, $2,500. It's $2,500 this year. They sent 5 kids to camp and gave them scholarships for 36, I think it was 36 hours or something. That was
Kids that couldn't go.
that could not get involved in like programs there. It was $2,500. Community Action Program, we all know all the great things they do. They provide food, emergency shelters, and transportation for people in the town. They asked for 23 last year, they're asking for 23 this year, 23,000. I'm averaging the same amount. I can go through them all. The concert series, 2,000 last, 2,000 this, and let's see, if we get to the Recreation Council, we say 54.5 last year, and 59.5 this year. That's around 10% increase. And it just doesn't make sense. It's the Youth Assistance Program. They went down by $8,000. In times like this, when people need help and all that, we're actually paying more out to support your infrastructure, but we're not getting back the $59,000 worth of services. We're providing a building for you, but we're not getting the services back.
Well, to try to, and that wasn't a question, but I'm going to try and shed a little bit of light on what's going on over there. And I think this is something that I don't know whether these other organizations are growing or shrinking or what, but I can tell you that the Pines and the Tilton Northfield Recreation Council is growing by participants, okay, from the town of Tilton at a rate of 14.9%. That's what we're seeing. The rate from the town of Northfield is about 11%. Just so you're aware of what kind of growth we're experiencing over there. And one of the reasons we're experiencing that growth, I think, is exactly what you're saying, is the economic times that we're living in, okay? A facility like ours with the programs we offer, when the economy is bad and when the times are bad, that's when we really shine. Okay, so you're looking at growth, like I said, 11% from Northfield, 15% from Tilton, which I went back and looked at some numbers, and this is the first time Tilton is up to that point. That makes us pretty happy over there. But if you're going to experience growth like we're experiencing and offer what we're offering, I don't understand how you can take and not have to increase not only your expense lines, but in order to offset your expense lines, you've got to increase your income.
But Jim, I guess I'd like to know where those increases come. It's easier to say, well, there's a 14% increase. Well, maybe 2 more people came in to get their blood pressure checked. And those are the hard answers we need to know. We're giving you a big chunk of our money. We have a Parks and Recreation department right here in town, and they do a lot of things for our community, like the Christmas parade, and there's the possibility of the skating. I think you're on that. I want to know what you're giving us, and you keep saying if you can see next year in the programs. I don't see the programs there. I gave you a schedule of what you have on your website for November, and it's mostly meetings. That's my concern. We need to be getting something for the money we're giving you. And I don't see that, and I don't see a plan laid out saying next year we're going to offer these services, and we expect to have this number of people participating. That's the kind of thing we really need to see.
Okay. In order to give you that type of information, you're going to have to give me some time. And the reason that I'm going to need time is I can put a package together for each and every one of you that the selectmen already get. They either get it through emails or they get it delivered to either town hall. And they get to see what's going on over at the Pines, okay? You don't. You don't get all the information. So I can put a package together that would show you a year-long synopsis, or whatever the word is, so you can see what goes on over there for a year. But for me to sit down and try and talk about it, we're going to be here quite late.
I'd like to address that if I could.
Fire away. And please tell me if you're not getting them.
I'm not getting them.
What comes in is a newsletter, and and what comes in is a couple of activities on the newsletter that's, programs such as what you can pull off of your website. I don't have any year-to-date statistics or anything that you're talking about, Jim.
That wouldn't be on there. I'm just talking about the programs, okay, that it comes either in a newsletter form or you actually get the same thing that goes into a newspaper. And that does not give statistics
That's not-
or any of that kind
It
of
used to
stuff on
get
it.
emailed to the selectmen a number of years ago. But I think it's been 2 years.
They're very sporadic.
2 years since I've received it. And the email hasn't changed.
I don't think we've got them.
Your after-school programs that we talked about a little bit, you explained what is available to kids that just walk in off the street, unstructured, unsupervised, go out and use the equipment facilities. What do you have for structured events that actually would draw those same kids to the thing?
As far as after-school programs are concerned, well, at the moment, we don't offer, basically what we described is what we offer to that age group. I think, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but where we run into the problem is space. We have other programs going on, including our after-school program for the K through 5, obviously age group, yes. But K through 5, afternoon kindergarten through 5th grade. And we also have other programs that are utilizing the building in the afternoons. So, I mean, space becomes a factor for us as far as offering something structured for that age group in the afternoons. It's certainly not something, I mean, that couldn't be done. There are ways around it. I mean, right now, we do have that space that we're not utilizing at the moment, which we
I
haven't.
know at one time you had a babysitting course on, was it Red Cross that taught it?
Yes. Yep, we do. We do Safe on Our Own and Red Cross babysitting.
How often is that available?
Usually I schedule them with the Red Cross at least every other month. The Safe on My Own, the Red Cross babysitting, once in a while we will do CPR first aid training, and that's for all age groups, but
This seems to be that window of time when school gets out and parent gets home, where you have kids that don't have a structured activity at the school, but it would seem to me that maybe that's an area you could pick up and actually have something that would draw kids to you, that, you get the kids going to you, then you're going to get their parents going to you and utilizing your other programs.
What happens if...
Family thing.
Oh, go ahead. What happens if a parent has a child that's in 4th grade and another one that's in 6th grade? Do you not offer anything for them? If they had their 4th grader going down there for this K through 5 program, but yet there was...
they're technically not, they wouldn't be eligible for after-school program. We do have a lot of the older crowd that have younger siblings in our after-school program that do come to the Pines in the afternoons.
And so what do they do when they're there? Do they do anything that's structured, or they
Want to
just...
look at my shins? I'm sorry, but we got a bunch of hockey players there. And, yeah, my shins have paid for it dearly the past couple of days. But, yeah, we do whatever they want to do, but they love hockey, so do I. So I get a chance to take a bunch of them, and we're playing, I guess you could call it a modified version of street hockey, but, yeah, they are structured.
So there's an option for them
Oh, yeah,
to
there's
bring
an
the
option.
elder
Some of them
child
like
down
that,
there.
and some of them want to do other things, but I got a great group of floor hockey players right now.
As far as you providing us with information, a newsletter wouldn't cut it. A newsletter that's going to say that we offer, Zumba and meetings and classes. We know what you're doing there. We know what you have going on there. We know those types of things. What we need to know, what we would need to know would be the nitty-gritty of the finances and how they work. How much of our money is going to help towards keeping these kids in the after-school program? How much is it for them to go to your after-school program versus going to the ARC. Because we don't fund the ARC at all for their after-school program. We don't help them, we don't support them in any way. And it's really kind of unfair that we're giving you money, we're not giving them any. They're doing the same type of stuff when it comes to that with the after-school. You know, so we need to know exactly how, by us giving you this money, it's making it easier on the Tilton residents. How's it making it easier for them financially?
And you're asking us for an increase in the amount of money we give you, and then when you answer this question, you say that in 2012, the prices for Tilton residents and businesses will increase. So it sounds like you're going to zing us both ways. What does that mean? I don't understand what...
Okay, when you design a sheet of paper like that, okay, and you give people 3 things to circle, all right? Mm-hmm. Yes, some things are going to increase. Some things would probably decrease, and some things are probably going to stay the same. I can circle all 3 depending on program. Okay?
Well, that's why you have an opportunity to tell us what that means. So you're saying that they're not going to increase, some may decrease, some may remain the same. Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much. You could circle all 3 of those on almost every line. Because we cannot anticipate everything that's going to happen with the program in 2012. We can't.
Do you have plans to increase what you're offering?
Yes.
For any age group, for any activity, for any, and
Yes.
How are you planning on increasing it?
Yes, and I think that we've shown exactly that in 2011, that by the numbers and the number of programs which are offered over at the Pines, we're increasing what we offer, and our goal as a council is to increase what's going on over there by about 15% a year, because that's about as much expansion as we can handle. So I don't want the programs, and Brittany doesn't want the programs to become stagnant and do the same thing year after year after year. That doesn't make our jobs too exciting, does it? So the more new things we can throw in there, the better. Whether they work or not, at first you never know, but I think between the council and Brittany, who runs the programs, and the rest of our staff, I think you'll see about 15% a year, because that's what the goal is, and I think that's something we can handle.
But see, I look on your website and it says you offer archery and art. And then I go into those 2 places and it said neither one's being offered right now. Mm-hmm. That doesn't show me an increase. That shows me a decrease in the programs that you're offering for whatever reason.
I would, you've got to understand that certain programs that we run, they don't run all the time, okay? They don't run year-round. They're not year-round programs, all right? When we run, pick anything. It doesn't really matter. Some are going to recur, some are not. Some are going to die. I mean, the interest is not there to warrant the expense. So yes, that may happen. But overall, once again, I have to look at the big picture of the whole thing. We're moving at a rate of approximately 15%.
What does that mean?
What it means is, yes, to answer your question, you may see something on the website that's not currently being offered, but doesn't mean it won't be in another 2 months.
Okay.
And that's why it says it on the website.
But I guess we need to see plans for that. We need to see it in black and white. That's how I feel. Just to say you'll see it in 2 months, I don't know.
The numbers you're proposing in 2012, Jim, is another 15% increase? Is that what you're looking at?
About 15.
About 15% increase.
And I think Tilton, once again, will be ahead of Northfield, only looking at what I've had a chance to look at in the last month or so, that for some reason, and I don't know why this is, I don't have the answers, but that's where it's running right now. It hasn't in the past.
So you're doing your projections on what your average month?
Yeah, I'm trying to take, I took a look of, since January 1st, my numbers come from January 1st till last week. I haven't run them since last week. But the numbers themselves, and I don't want to take everybody's time too much here, but those numbers, they're kind of deceiving because we average, each individual that's in one of our programs averages, and the number is 3.5, but it's hard to explain that, but they're not only doing one thing, they average between 3 and 4 programs, okay? So if you want to take that number, you can, and what I tried to do when I did this last year was to give you an accurate number of how many residents are taking advantage of our programs. But if you were to take and look at the information that I get about not only who they are, how many times they're involved, and then you take a look at all the other things that go on over there and how many people come through that door in a day, the numbers are huge. But if I gave you a number that was around 13,000, you'd look at me like, 13,000 people? And that's why you're seeing the numbers where they are there. And that kind of explains that. I can pull it, but it doesn't really matter. That explains those two numbers that I gave you, where we are and where I project you to be at the end of the year. And I think I'll be pretty close because I was only one person off from the same period last year on my numbers, which was amazing. I got lucky on that one.
Does anybody else have any other questions for Richard? Any of the selectmen out there have any other questions for?
No, I just have, I find it really difficult to believe that they're even asking for an increase. But last year, I want to ask you a question. Kathleen, you can fill me in on it, because my memory is not serving me well tonight, but Northfield and Tilton both had town meetings at the same time, and Tilton had a very high rate of attendance.
Participation, involvement.
Participation. And the day before town meeting, the selectmen, particularly the selectman chair, got several phone calls saying that the Pines community was offering a babysitting service for the Northwood town meeting, but they weren't offering it for the Tilton town meeting, and they were told to bring their kids over to call someone else, because Pines community couldn't help them. I waited all year to ask that question.
How come we
We
got
received
stuck?
those calls here in town hall as well.
Yep.
Why?
We ended
Why
up
was the
having
Pines
student
community
council.
offering babysitting for the Northfield residents, but not for the town of Tilton, when we both pay in?
I don't know. I don't have an answer.
Was it offered out there? I mean, it certainly wasn't
If-
made notice to the town of, to this office, that we could have
If it
let
was,
people know that.
if it was anything, it was an oversight on, and I'll take full,
But I
obviously,
mean,
I'm
you
taking
didn't
full
even-
responsibility
The
for
Pines didn't
it.
even notify Tilton Town Hall that that service was available. I didn't know until I happened to answer one of those calls. I was speechless. I hate it when I'm put in that position, too. I gotta tell you that I don't know. I know nothing about this. We haven't been notified. It was almost embarrassing.
Well, being the
So
new,
there was no communication. from
yeah,
the Pines to
and
the
that's,
town.
that's certainly where I'm taking full responsibility for that.
And then we find out that when the residents did call over there, that they were turned away because they weren't Northfield residents. So it wasn't offered to the
No.
town of Tilton.
No, now we gotta,
No,
now
there
we
were-
gotta take a step back.
No, there were more than at least half a dozen people understanding that, but they actually called over and were turned away because it was only offered to the Northfield residents.
Wouldn't happen.
Because I think the Northfield residents were actually voting in your facility, were they
It
not?
had to do, right, and it had to do with capacity of the building and
That's
what they would
correct.
take.
And who did they speak with when they were turned away? Just give me some details. Instead of
They
the,
spoke with a woman, so.
they spoke with a
Your
woman.
receptionist.
Right.
I mean, but after all, if your program did offer that to Tilton residents, wouldn't your receptionist know?
Yes.
And would you have called and let us know?
And
Since
then
we
that's the
pay
other
as
thing.
much money as Northfield.
Why didn't the Pines let us know that that service was available?
I've already said that I take full responsibility for that communication error. I would have assumed that we do.
It's something to look forward and correct in the near future.
Exactly.
For another town meeting.
But, you know, not having been around here through that process before, I obviously missed the boat by calling you and inviting, so, you know, I take full responsibility for that. That won't happen again. I would have assumed that the Pines would have been available for both towns. And I would have assumed this has been going on for years. I would have assumed that. I mean, I would doubt very much that, and please, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, that the Pines hasn't been available for both towns during their town meeting.
I don't ever remember in 18 years any babysitting services anywhere.
It never has.
Well,
period.
guess
Never been
what?
offered to the town of Tilton.
In 2012, I'll make sure that it is, and I won't miss that phone call.
2011 was our largest attendance
Ever.
ever.
That's great.
And we scrambled
it was
around.
awful.
That's why I remember it, because we scrambled for parents wanting to come.
I think now that it's brought to your attention, you can address
Put
it.
it that way.
Simple as that.
Okay. I just want to make one comment. I probably say it every year, and this isn't directed to you because you've only been here a year and a half, but for over 10 years, I had made overtures about those middle school kids in that age group that seem to fall through the cracks. And again, there are no real structured events at the time to draw them during that hour of hanging out on the street, creating mischief. I mean, and quite frankly, even in the summer, I mean, there's the skateboard park. I won't let my grandkids go there because of its location. It's too remote. So that Pines is the only facility. If I'm off busy, my granddaughter could go to the Pines if there was something there for her to do. One of my granddaughters goes there, but it's for very structured events. The other one won't have anything to do with the Pines because I'll quote, "There's nothing there for me to do." So here I am, over 10 years, still asking for the same service.
I think maybe stepping away from the Pines area, maybe participating in what's going on at the skateboard park, sending somebody over there to set some structure during a certain time period, and use those facilities that are basically free for the Pines to outreach in the community and do those things would be helpful.
That age group's very influential, too. I mean, you know, that's when they're going to take the wrong crossroad. No question.
Yeah, an opportunity to structure them, to send them down the right path and catch them before they do things they may regret.
I think you have met your what you presented to us last year, though, as far as in fundraising, though. There's no question about that, and you mentioned that last year. So that part of it, you did meet what you brought forward, and Catherine would say, I'd like to see more programs for that little older age group, just because those are the kids that really do fall through the cracks. Those are the kids that the parents will allow to go home by themselves, and that's when they're going to get in trouble by themselves. You know, whether they're home when they're supposed to be or home a half hour later, or it is, and I know it's not your responsibility, unfortunately, it's a part of society, but it is, you know, if we can prevent that, then that is a plus for the community, no question.
Are there any other questions or comments?
I have just one. If there are.
Jim, before
Sorry.
I let you answer,
Okay.
Selectman Jessamine has a question.
I'm sorry.
I've been going to 3 budget meetings a week, and studying at home, talking with department heads, and looking at line items. The only one that's gone up is the Pines. Only one. The town budget has gone down. Highway, police, level funding, outside agency, level funding, less, level funding. Only one that went up is the Pines. Ms. Alden stated 65% of our residents are elderly and disabled, and I'm sure that elderly Zumba is well attended by some, but you want $15 from every man, woman, and child in this town. $15 from every man, woman, and child in this town. And I don't know if we're getting that kind of services back. I just have a hard time with the Pines. I admire what you do, and I know it's a necessary thing to have a place like that, certainly. But I got a problem with an increase in this particular economic climate. All I have to say.
I think that's put you through the ringer pretty well here, Jim. I'll let you go ahead and make
I don't feel that way at all, and I wouldn't. And in certain respects, I understand exactly where the comments come from and why. One of the things I've learned from doing this for 25 years is if you don't ask, you don't get. And, you know, sometimes, sure, you have to go through some, you know, interesting meetings and interesting conversations, and but the 2 communities that I have the pleasure of working for are truly blessed by that building over there. Truly. I've never, in any environment, and I've been in a lot of them, seen the gem that I see over there and what it's doing for the 2 communities, because I get a chance to be right in the middle of it all the time. Okay? Now, what it's worth, I hate getting involved in conversations of what this is worth, because when that parent that is having extreme difficulties comes into my office, and we help that family out, okay? And we do things that I get a chance to see the direct results of what we do for them, and it absolutely makes me love that place and makes me love coming to work, okay? And to put a value on it, I can't, and that's why budget talks are difficult for me, because you're trying to put a value on everything, and it makes it tough. Would I be devastated if we didn't get an additional $5,000 from each town? No, that's not the way I operate. I mean, it's going to make my job significantly more difficult. It's going to take significant time that I would normally be doing other things to make it up, but I will make it up, okay, because that's the way I am. But we're going through a period of time over there, and I don't want to go on too long about this. We're going through a period of time over there where we're going to ramp up our grant writing ability towards larger grants and towards operational costs, which will take care of this every time I have to do payroll and write bills and go through this, that I'm always trying to figure out where the income's going to come from. And there is going to be a point over there where we have a significant cash reserve. I really think so. I just haven't had enough time to get the whole thing together. And yeah, it's evolving as we go. But I'm sorry we're the only, well, I'm not really, if we're the only community organization that thinks that our worth is worth $5,000 more this year. I believe it is. But, I mean, I guess I've said enough on that subject.
There was one other thing. Now, some of the Samberton residents use the programs over there.
Oh, we have, you'd be surprised at what communities, we have a lot of non-residents, not only Samberton, but we have them from, they come Andover, Franklin, they're from all over.
Well, I don't understand why the Tilton and Northfield residents would get charged out of the tax bill for it, and why we can't charge, you couldn't charge a non-resident fee to them?
They do get a non-resident fee.
They do have to pay?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
What is it?
Like a membership fee?
it depends on the program.
Oh, it's per program?
It's per program, so if somebody's from, not from Tilton or Northfield, they get hit.
Do you charge the Samberton kids that wander in after school?
I don't know if we have any Samberton
I
kids.
don't think we have any Samberton
It'd
kids
be hard
coming in
to tell.
after school.
They all sign in?
Yes,
Yes.
we could look that up.
Yeah, we could look that up. I don't know.
They came in during the after hours just to do the hangout.
They have it right on their fee structure here, John, non-residents, an additional fee.
It's on their website, it gives
Oh, for the
each
different
program, and it
programs.
shows how much for non-residents.
But would
I
you
have a
charge
feeling.
those Samberton school kids that wandered in with a Northfield or Tilton friend? Now I'm letting them out. Just to use the facility after school without being in a structured program?
If we were to start seeing something like that, it would be addressed at the council level, at a council meeting, and a policy would be determined, and I can't tell you the answer. That would be up to the council. I would assume probably we would go yes, but I don't know.
It would be unfortunate.
I know,
Yeah, I think that if you get a kid to go in there, you're fortunate.
exactly.
And that you wouldn't want to put a
Society.
situation where the poor kid goes with his friends and they say, well, guess what, you're
Can't go out.
you're from Samberton, so go home.
That would be horrible.
No, I don't think you'd turn them away, but if somebody said that it was $1, I don't think that'd be a big deal.
No, but what I'm
Just
saying is the
a
kid might
card,
not have a
membership
dollar. I
card.
mean, you,
Yeah.
Then we'd let them in because they don't have $1. Or
that's what I would
I'd
hope
throw
would
the
happen.
dollar in, I mean.
That's what I would hope would
Charge
happen.
$1 a minute after 5:30 if kids aren't picked up.
That, you know, that, it works. No, I'm just kidding.
Pat, you have a question?
I do have one. How is the council made up? Is it so many from Northfield, so many from Tilton? Are they elected, appointed, or how does that?
Council in the audience?
Rosemary?
You can submit a letter of intent, you'd like to keep on my local board, Tilton or Northfield resident. And you will talk at a meeting, why you're interested, what you can bring to the board, and then it's voted on by the board.
By the council themselves?
By the council.
So you choose who gets on and who doesn't get on?
I could tell you the last time somebody wasn't voted on the board. We have
Volunteers.
many openings.
Yeah.
So, but the council picks the council?
Yes.
Most board of directors work that way. The board of directors, Beckett. There's the dollar for that first kid, too.
I'm sorry, can I have you speak up back there? You're saying,
4 members from Northfield. We have 1 who's on leave.
how many people do you have as a maximum on the council? Are you supposed to have?
We can take up to 20, 10 from each town.
And right now you have 7?
7 total, Rosemary?
You ought to know, I mean, you can't fill your boards, the 2 towns are always looking for members on their boards. We're in the same boat. They don't want to volunteer at a time.
I'm happy.
You're happy?
I'm happy.
All right, anybody else have any other questions?
I do.
All right.
It's not a question. I just want to be clear of what additional information you want from me. And I think there were a couple of things. One, I will deal with the welfare director, and my card is right here. And the other one was the number of Tilton and Northfield residents that were awarded scholarships to our programs. And
For both your adventure program and your
For both
summer camp program.
Okay, would you like the rest of the programs, or do you
That
just
would be
want
great.
those? Okay,
As
so,
much detail as you can provide.
all right. Anything else in terms of additional information that I neglected to write down?
I think you gave us the salary information that I asked
The
for.
only other thing I would ask for is the rate reduction that is seen by the Tilton residents that utilize your services. If your program would normally be $25, and because they're a Tilton or a Northfield resident, you're able to have them be in that program for $20, I'd like to know that. Where are we seeing this money? Where are we seeing benefits by offering, by putting in $55,000, $60,000 into your operating budget? Where is it really helping us? Anything else from anybody? Jim, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you all.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I'd like to take just 5 minutes, take a little breather, and then we'll get into discussion mode.
Thank you.
For 5 minutes, recessing for 5 minutes.
Much appreciate a lot of information this year.
Is it, we're all set? We're all right, all set there, all set here. Okay, we are back in session mode here, meeting mode. The next order of business is to discuss this and to, what we have been doing is we have been having these people come in front of us, and then we've been waiting until we've seen everybody coming before us and discussing them and leaving. We have asked them to provide us with some additional information. So
I'd make a motion that we don't move forward with making the decision now until we receive the information that we've asked for.
I will second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to hold off making any sort of decision here until after we've received back discussion. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
To respond by? A deadline to respond by?
Well, that can be part of our discussion here now. We'll open it up to discussion, and I would say that we need to get this.
I think 2 weeks is plenty
If we
for
don't
him
meet
to...
next week, but the week
Yeah,
after.
the week after, I'd like to have that information, so when we meet on the 30th.
We will make plans then to bring this up for discussion, with or without the information. If the information has not been provided by then,
Yep.
then we will go with what we have.
I think we just need to let them know that we're going to make a decision on the 30th, and we need the information by then. And if it's not there, then it's
No,
going to
we
be...
need the information emailed to us prior to then, so that we can, at least I would hope that we would have this information by next Wednesday,
I think we're going to
emailed to us.
I think it's coming to, you need to tell him that. We didn't give him a deadline when he was here.
No,
We
but
have to make a formal
That's all I'm
letter.
saying, is we need to communicate.
Let him
As
know
we
that.
talked about
Right.
not lack of
Exactly.
communications, we need to communicate with him that we need it by a certain date.
exactly. Okay. Joanna, can you email Mr. Doan and just say that we need to have that information prior to next Wednesday?
That-
In here, emailed to us all. Not mailed, because we won't be meeting again, but emailed to us. Give them the Budget Committee
30th, okay.
address. Okay. Does that meet with everybody's approval?
Yep.
Should
Are
we,
you anticipating him coming on the 30th?
No.
No.
No, I think if he
Just
sends
have-
the information, then
I think if we're emailed that, Catherine, and we're in discussion mode, if we're emailed and if we look at it and we have a question, I think that should go back out as an email to the chair, and then let the chair decide whether that there's information that's needed further than what was given to us. If, you know what I'm saying? If he sends,
Matter, you're
if he
saying-
sends back an email to us with all the information that we've asked for, okay, But within that information, it creates more questions than answers, I mean, on certain things, and I don't know what he's going to send back. I'm just saying that I think he at least needs to have the availability to be stated that, you know, we're going to discuss this on the 30th, and that if Tony feels that the information is not, well, she's the chair, and the chair feels that the information is not adequate for us to make that decision, I mean, and I don't know what he's going to send back. It might cause more questions, because it seemed every time that we thought we were done with him, he mentioned something and it started up the discussion all over again on other things, and that's the only reason I'm saying that. It's just, I mean, it's so complex on all the different services and the age groups, and I mean...
We just didn't have answers, it didn't seem.
No, he didn't have
It was just very vague about everything, and that's what concerns me.
I would not be surprised if he was here on the 30th.
You know, that's why I asked the question when Catherine brought it up about the K through 5, is, you know, a lot of parents have more than one kid, and, you know, they might have a kid that's outside of that. What do they do? Because you don't have Johnny going down here and Susie's going over there somewhere, and you got to get out to work.
Well,
and you
one
gotta
of
go.
them will be able to hang out because you give him $1.
Yeah, well, that's for the next one.
You got a buck.
A minute. It's $1 a minute.
Well, he only got a
But that
minute.
has been the problem. It
Right.
has
I know,
been Since I
and-
became a selectman. That age group falls through the cracks. There's no structured program. And then they sat here today and said because they don't have the facility, other programs are going on.
Well, they also have a vacancy of space that they're trying to rent out. The other thing is...
And see, that's why I'm saying, what we're talking about right here is a perfect example of what I'm saying. He might send us that information that causes us more questions than it does answers.
Should we...
Sandy, I hate to, we have a motion on the floor, so I'm just going to request that just, and at this point, are we at a point now that we can, I mean, we've been discussing this, but I think we've gotten away from what the motion was.
Well, the motion was, and we're just in discussion, I'm just saying that there has to be an avenue, a way of communicating, that what he sends to us by next Wednesday, if that creates questions, and I, as a member of this budget committee, I'd like to be able to have those questions answered before we go ahead and make a decision.
If he's
That's all
going
I'm
to
saying.
send us the information by email,
Yeah, I know
we're going to
that.
notify him by email. If he's going to send it to all of us via email, then there could be then we should respond to Tony.
That's what
We
I'm
need
saying,
more
go through the
information.
chair.
Correct.
We need to respond by,
With questions?
if his deadline is Wednesday, we should respond by end of day Friday. And I'm stretching it. I was going to say end of day Thursday.
But that's
But
Thanksgiving.
that's Thanksgiving. I'll be really busy that day, I won't be looking at email. I'm sorry, I just don't have time.
I usually go, hi.
I would say by Monday, we should...
Monday?
You know, I think...
That's what I would suggest, by Monday.
In all fairness, Monday, whether you have questions or not, we should all send Tony an email saying that we're fine with the information or we're not fine. If we're not fine, this is the reason why I'm not fine. I have these points that I think needs to be answered, or we need further information on them.
The
Simple as
Monday
that.
deadline?
Yeah.
We're getting back to, okay, so we're looking at the 23rd, having an email from them with the information, and then Monday, responses to me so that we can ask him to be at the 30th meeting if we need him to be, because that's when we're going to plan our discussion.
That's fair.
All righty, we have the motion and the second, shall we call the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So moved. Sorry about that, Cindy.
Not a problem. I was just going to say, I found it interesting there at the end when he started talking about all these grandiose ideas about all these different grants he's going to apply for this coming year. That's the same speech he gave us last year when he sat right there and talking to you. You know, I'm new here and I know that I've been doing this, but I'm for all these grants, for all these grants.
It's the same thing we've heard year after year after year after year. I mean, that there's
it's like
always going to be,
nothing's
just one more year, just one more year, just one more year, just one more year. There's always one more year.
But
So-
it's like
In
nothing's
fairness,
changed.
He has brought in a lot more grants, so
He
this
has
year
brought
he's
in
looking on the
more
thing.
grants.
Well,
And I-
do we know that?
Listening to him
Well, yeah, because it's
tonight,
in what he presented to us.
from listening to Jim tonight, it sounds like
Goodness.
the council.
Right here.
It seemed to me,
I understand that. What-
might have
And
applied.
these are the ones he's awarded, and he's got these pending. And then he's...
What do you think
it's
of us
28,000.
compiling a list of
No, that's this year,
expectations of what we
2,000
want from them?
I don't know what last year's was.
I don't know if we can,
The
I don't know
fundraising,
if
that's
we
what I
can do
brought it
that.
up.
Well, we
Well, I
say
said I
every
was
year,
trying to,
we mention to them at the
compare
meeting,
apples with apples.
programs for the middle school
And I
kids.
got,
We
remember when I mentioned that to him?
want to have,
Scott, I'm sorry.
Yep,
Can we-
sorry.
I was saying that it might be a good idea for us to make a list of expectations that we want from them in the upcoming year, such as programs for the middle school kids, more scholarships, working with the welfare director. We mention these things, but might be a good idea to put it in writing so that next year when it comes around, say, what did you do? We want to see the results of these things and list how you've done it.
Last year, when I made those types of suggestions to them, I received an email asking me to suggest programs for them.
That's fair. When I manage the store, you can have a problem, you better have a solution right along with it. I always manage that way.
Well, I was like, okay, looking for ideas. That's why I always throw the babysitting thing out.
They did, we suggested things with the American Red Cross, the babysitting train. They did that.
Yep.
You know, they did follow through and
They dropped that, hasn't it?
They-
They dropped that for a while?
No, she says they still do it every month or two, the babysitting.
Right, but they didn't start that until last year when we addressed it, because the
addressed it,
American
right.
Red Cross had come, somebody had come before us and said that they didn't have
Tried
any
to
place
sign
to
up.
try to sign up, but they couldn't get any, but they talked with them and they got it set up. That's, that was a positive improvement on their part, but...
I think the fundraising was positive. And that's what he had mentioned last year. He was going to go out and get more fundraising. I think that was shown. I think a concern that we have is, number one, we're a budget committee, it's the dollars, and they're asking for a 10%, almost a 10% increase, just under a 10% increase, and that's of concern as a budget committee member. That being said, we have concerns on, as I do, with our welfare director stating that, number one, she didn't get contacted back, and number two, she was denied once they did get back to her. And that's a concern. If we find that, with the questions that Jane had asked him, if we find that there's scholarships, X amount of scholarships been given out, hopefully the percentages are the same,
Yeah, we're close to it.
or close to it.
If...
And I think that that's where I come from.
Increased by 14%, then it should...
When I stated that-
Towards Tilton.
When I stated that, his answers could cause a lot more questions,
And that
just
might be
because of the
case.
information.
Like that. Sorry, I was sleeping. I'm taking a little nap here, don't mind me.
I have two things to say. One is that when you get the reply back from Jim, could someone forward it to the selectmen so that we can make an appropriate decision as well on
Yeah, well-
on our decision for our budget? The next thing is, I think that it's important, and Scott said last week or the week before that about the Northfield Budget Committee and Northfield and what they're doing, and I think that he has a very valid point. We really should start watching what they're doing. And I had information, I was speaking with Lisa the other day, and it was very disturbing to me because, actually Jane and I were talking, that the selectmen recommended Franklin B&A, they only fund them $1,000. And so I wanted to see if that was true, and it is true, and last year they did fund them $1,000. So we're over here funding B&A, Franklin B&A, $15,000 and they come in for a level funding, and Northfield's paid them $1,000. Something like the war memorial that, Tilton Northfield share. And yes, Harold Harbor, if we weren't going to get, the total amount opiate, he'd probably knock on a few doors, knowing Harold. But they went a lot less than what we had asked for. But I think that if you look at, I think my point being is that we really should know from them what they're doing for the Pines, because it was thousands and thousands of dollars difference in us last year. And, there's a few instances right there where Tilton's picking up the dime and Tilton Northfield go together on this, particularly I don't want to keep funding the Pines community if, historically, Northfield gives a lot less than we do, and they're getting the services, a lot more services than we do. So I think that it would be important to know from the selectmen. The selectmen are voting on their budget. The budget committee hasn't met yet, but the selectmen, have voted a decrease in what they've asked for. So I think it's important for us to get the facts before you make that decision on what to vote. I know it is for us, for the selectmen. I don't want to keep holding the burden. I think it's time that Tilton stops holding the burden for that.
Same thing. Youth assistance program was an example of that.
It is, and unfortunately, Samberton, right. But
We
now...
funded zero, and
Right.
we're keeping it alive.
Right. And case in point for our budget was the SRO officer as well. We for years and years and years, it fell on the backs of our taxpayers. And so, we corrected it this year with a new memorandum of understanding, but the 2012 budget will reflect that. It's time for Tilton to stop, in our shared resources and our community entities that we share, both of them, then we really need to stop an outside agency, stop and think about what we're doing.
Right. Well, what I found troubling about your conversation was the fact that, like with B&A, I don't think there's anyone that doesn't feel that they're a very worthwhile organization, and they help a lot of people in both towns. But their attitude towards it, well, they're going to help them whether we give them money or not.
That was their answer.
Yeah.
Joe, did you have something you wanted to add?
I have a question. It's my understanding that the town of Northfield has approximately 8,000 residents, is that correct?
No, they have about 4,400.
Okay.
We're at 36.
About 1,000 more than we do.
And yet
Give or
they pay the same amount as we do in our shared resources, Pines, the library, and that kind of stuff.
I had a discussion with George Corliss, who's the chair of the Northfield Budget Committee, probably within the last 2 weeks. And that was the topic was, do you think that with all the things that we share, that we should have joint meetings? And he was in agreement that we should have joint, of course, they haven't started their budget process yet.
Right.
Haven't even met yet, so. But that's been my feeling for a long time, is I think that, to me, it's a lack of communications. When you don't have the other budget committee, and there's so many things that we fund together, or that, whether we fund it together or whether the agencies come to us looking for funding in this, and shared, that I just think we're going with blinders on myself. That's just my personal opinion. And I just think that without having the knowledge of what they're doing over there, and I heard the same thing last year, that they didn't fund V&A. I have a problem with that. I'm a person that I like to carry my own load, so it's, I don't want to see an agency that I think does a tremendous service to the community, especially in the elderly, that they come up short, that they're not be able to provide that to Tilton residents. So I don't know if it would change if I had a meeting with them. I'm not saying on the VNA that I'd say, well, we're only going to fund them $1,000 also. But, it would at least open our eyes to what they're doing, and then you could ask the question, if you had a joint meeting as budget committees, what's your reasoning for doing that? Is it a legitimate reason? Do they see something in the financials that they got a pile of money? Or is it something that they see that we overlooked or that we didn't bring up? And I just think the more people, if you got the two committees together to go over those issues, I think a lot of that could be hashed out, and it would be beneficial not only to Tilton, but possibly to Northfield also. So that's
The
just
only
my-
thing that I can add to that is that we did it.
I know,
And then
I
they
know.
said no more.
I know.
Perhaps we should ask every year.
How long ago was that?
2 years, 3 years?
3 years, 3 years ago.
Like the library, we all met at the library.
Cookies and coffee, it was
I
great.
think they provided all the cookies.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did.
We didn't provide the cookies and coffee, so
Probably that $1.
they're not going to pay us.
You ate all the
The
cookies.
library provided cookies and
Did
stuff.
that- did
That was
that-
Mary. Mary did,
That's
that, you know.
Yeah.
But did it actually benefit you by doing that? To make a decision to say?
We both made separate decisions, we didn't make it, it was just, we were able to
You had
hear the,
knowledge.
it's kind of like us meeting with you here. We're all hearing the same things, but we made individual determinations on funding.
Well, you-
But we didn't meet and say, oh, well, we're thinking this, and you guys are thinking that, and, that didn't happen at all.
Well, last year we did that with the Pines, with the selectmen.
Yeah,
We got
did meet
together.
with the selectmen,
They kind of put us on the spot, and asked us about it, but then we got their real feeling.
Yeah.
But, then we really felt they were on board kind of with what we were feeling, and then they had a couple of entities, and that's when,
How do they get through their budgets so quick? They haven't started yet.
They have a good chair.
I know, he quits at 9. Their chair quits at 9. He's done at 9 o'clock. That's one thing I do say about Georgie.
George, yeah.
9 o'clock, it's out the door.
Milking time.
Well, at least when the two budget committees from each town meet on these entities, they're all hearing the same information. You may not have a discussion about, well, what are you guys going to vote, and what are you guys going to vote, but at least it's based on the same
Right.
information.
right?
Well, I think my point is, we all look through the financials, and we all, everyone brings up something different out of their financials when we're sitting here. And you just wonder if you had the other budget committee members sitting there, would they pick up something, is there something they see in the financials we don't? And that might be part of the reason why they take an approach one way or the other. I don't know. But I just think that it's lack of
It could be the
communications
same-
information.
The thing is that, we don't fund Genesis, they might be funding Genesis,
I don't know.
It's possible.
And there's probably going to be things that they're funding
And
for
then-
Merrimack County that we're not funding for Merrimack because we're in Belknap. I don't know about that either.
We're the same but different.
Well, we could just meet on the nights that we have agencies that we both fund, instead of, always meeting all the time. Maybe we could, if we did meet with them, schedule
I think
our
they meet
meetings so
Tuesday
that we
nights,
have
Jane.
all the things that we
They
all...
meet Tuesdays?
I think so. I think it's Tuesday night that they meet.
That's something that we should consider, that if they're going to be, once they have their schedule set, then, we can,
Everybody from Tilton walk in and sit in the back of the room.
No, I wouldn't want to
No,
do that.
no.
I would want to say that they know we're coming. I mean, no reason not to. Got nothing
like
to
the
hide.
surprise,
We've got nothing to hide. and
That way they
we're
can't
going
invite
over-
us not to come. We're already there.
That's like an ambush technically, isn't it?
Flanking.
Public meeting,
Public meeting.
got to be prepared for anything.
And you got to remember, as our budget committee, the members change. So you're not dealing possibly with the same budget committee that you were 3 or 4 years ago.
well, when it comes next year, and you guys are trying to figure out when you're setting your schedule next year, when you guys are doing that,
When you...
then you can,
are-
you can be,
No, you're
you
not
can be
getting-
taking care of that.
Again.
Not
Already
gonna
got
happen.
posters out for you.
Just food for
Can't
thought.
leave us.
Food for thought.
That's all it is.
You know.
Ready
But I think it
to,
does help.
Come on, rescue me.
Board of Selectmen,
Thank you very much.
it's much easier.
I am.
Yeah, make a motion.
motion to adjourn?
Second,
I have a motion
third.
and a second to adjourn. Any discussion? Hearing none.
She was
Call
giving me
the
the
vote.
evil eye, so I didn't dare to put a
All in
motion out
favor,
there.
say aye.
Done.
Get out of here.
I figured you were gonna